The crystal chambers of Zentari Prime sparkled with 1,000 different lights. Representatives from 847 species filled the massive hall, their voices creating a buzz that echoed off the walls. At the center of it all stood Hyunwoo Park, Earth's ambassador wearing his best diplomatic uniform. Next to him, Sojin Kim held a thick folder of papers, her hands shaking slightly. The Speaker of the Council, a tall blue creature with 6 arms, raised one hand for silence. The noise died down immediately. "We are here today to decide the fate of the species called humans," the speaker announced. "They stand accused of breaking our most sacred laws." Hyunwoo stepped forward. He had practiced this speech 100 times, but his mouth felt dry. "Honored council members," he began, "humanity has done nothing wrong. We have followed all galactic laws. We have helped other species. We have brought peace to many worlds." A creature that looked like a walking tree stood up. "Peace?" it said, its voice like rustling leaves. "You call destroying our ancient ways peace? You humans spread like a disease across the stars. In just 200 years, you have taken 23 star systems. That is against our sacred growth protocols." Sojin whispered to Hyunwoo, "Show them the colony reports." He nodded and activated a holographic display. Images of human colonies appeared in the air, showing green worlds with happy populations. "Look at these worlds," Hyunwoo said. "Before we arrived, Kepler 438b was a dead rock. Now it supports 3 million beings from 12 different species. New Sol Colony has become a center of learning where young aliens come to study. We don't destroy, we build." A snake-like alien with golden scales hissed from across the room. "You build too fast, you change too much. You make other species think they can grow quickly too. This is dangerous. This threatens the order we have kept for 10,000 years." More voices joined in. The fish-like Aquarians complained that humans had taught their young to be ambitious. The crystal beings said humans made their workers want better lives. The gas dwellers said human music was too loud and emotional. Hyunwoo felt his heart sink. They weren't really angry about laws or protocols. They were afraid that other species might learn from humans that they didn't have to stay the same forever. "What about the terraforming incident?" shouted a voice from the back. This made many council members nod and whisper angrily. Sojin quickly found the right report. "The terraforming incident," Hyunwoo said loudly, "happened when we tried to help the dying world of Zerion 7. Yes, we made mistakes, but that world now supports life when it was completely dead before. The Zerions thanked us." "You didn't ask permission," the tree creature said. "You just acted. That is the human way. Act first, ask later. This is why you are dangerous." In the back of the hall, Jae-min Lee sat quietly among the observers. He was Earth's chief scientist, and he had been listening carefully to everything. As the arguments continued, he slowly reached into his pocket and turned on a small recording device. Something told him this information would be important later. The debate went on for hours. Hyunwoo showed evidence of human charity. Human science helping other species, human artists creating beautiful works that aliens loved. Sojin read reports of human doctors saving alien lives, human engineers building better homes for struggling colonies, human teachers helping alien children learn. But for every good thing they showed, the council found a reason to complain. Humans were too fast, too creative, too willing to change things. They made other species restless. They asked too many questions. They didn't respect the old ways enough. As the day wore on, it became clear that the council had already made up its mind before the trial even started. The evidence didn't matter. The good things humans had done didn't matter. What mattered was that humans were different, and different was scary. Finally, the speaker called for the vote. "All those in favor of exile," it announced. Lights began appearing on the voting board. Red lights for exile, blue lights for letting humans stay. At first it was close, then more red lights appeared. And more, and more. Hyunwoo watched in horror as the number climbed. Sojin grabbed his arm, her face pale. The final count appeared on the main screen, 734 votes for Exile, only 113 against. The decision is made, the speaker announced. The species known as humans will be banished beyond the galactic barrier. All human worlds, colonies, and ships must leave galactic space within one solar cycle. This session is closed. As the council members began filing out, Hyunwoo stood frozen. One solar cycle meant about 4 Earth months. How could they move 12 billion people and centuries of civilization in just 4 months? But Jae-min Lee wasn't paying attention to the leaving council members. He was listening to the conversations happening as they walked away. His recording device picked up everything. Finally, one alien said to another, "No more worrying about humans taking over. Their technology advances too fast," another replied. "In another 100 years they would have been stronger than all of us. Better to get rid of them now while we still can," said a third voice. Jaemin smiled grimly. Now he understood. This wasn't about laws or protocols or sacred traditions. This was about fear. The galaxy's oldest and most powerful species were afraid that young, creative humanity would eventually surpass them. So they had decided to get rid of the competition before it became a real threat. As Hyunwoo and Sojin walked slowly toward the exit, their shoulders slumped in defeat, Jae-min caught up with them. "Don't look so sad," he said quietly. "They may have won this battle, but they just made a very big mistake." "What do you mean?" Sojin asked. Jae-min looked back at the emptying council chambers. "They think they're getting rid of a problem. But what they're really doing is setting humanity free. Free from their rules. Free from their limits. Free to become everything we can be." He paused at the door and looked at his friends. "They wanted us gone because they're afraid of what we might become. Well, now they're going to find out exactly what humans can do when we don't have to hold back anymore." Outside the crystal chambers, the 3 humans walked into the alien sunset, carrying with them the news that would change everything. Earth had been voted out of the galaxy, but perhaps Jaemin thought that was exactly what humanity needed. President Mi-young Choi stood in the Oval Office, looking out at the crowds gathered on the White House lawn. News of the exile had spread across Earth in hours, and people everywhere were afraid. Some were angry, shouting about fighting back. Others were crying, not wanting to leave the only home they had ever known. She turned to face the cameras that would broadcast her speech to the entire world. Behind her stood Admiral Tae-ho Kang, the head of Earth's Space Navy, and Vice Admiral Yoon-ha Yoon, who controlled the transport fleets. Both looked tired but determined. "My fellow humans," Mi-young began, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "Today we face the greatest challenge in our species' history. The galaxy has told us to leave, and we have only 4 months to do it. But we are not defeated. We are not broken. We are human, and humans never give up." Across the world, people watched and listened. In Seoul, families packed their most precious belongings. In New York, engineers worked frantically to save as much technology as possible. In São Paulo, teachers tried to explain to children why they had to leave Earth behind. But while most people focused on the impossible task ahead, Admiral Tae-ho was already making calls to very special numbers. Numbers that most people didn't know existed. "Project Deep Space is now active," he said into his secure communicator. "Authorization Omega-7. Wake up, everyone." Far beyond Pluto, in the cold darkness of space, lights began turning on. Secret shipyards that had been hidden for decades started humming with activity. Research stations that officially didn't exist began powering up their engines. Captain Ye-jin Bae, who had been exploring unknown regions for the past 5 years, received a coded message that made her smile for the first time in months. Back on Earth, the impossible evacuation began. But humanity wasn't alone. 3 days after the exile announcement, strange ships appeared in Earth's solar system. They didn't look like any vessels in the Galactic Navy. The first ship belonged to the Veltari, a species made of living crystal. Their ambassador, a being called Rinsei, contacted Earth directly. "We voted against your exile," Rinsei said, its voice like wind chimes. "We do not agree with this decision. We offer help." The Veltari brought storage technology that could compress entire cities into spaces the size of shipping containers. They worked quietly, not wanting other species to know they were helping the banned humans. Next came the Morden, an aquatic species that looked like giant dolphins with hands. They had always liked humans because humans were curious about everything, just like they were. The Mordoon offered something even more valuable than storage space: secret hyperspace routes that could cut travel time in half. But the most important help came from an unexpected source. Da Yunsong had worked as a cultural exchange coordinator for years, but that was just her cover job. Really, she ran Earth's intelligence network across the galaxy. As soon as the exile was announced, her alien contacts started reaching out. "The Council doesn't speak for everyone," one message said. "Many of us think this is wrong." "We have information about safe worlds beyond the barrier," said another. "There are others who were exiled before you," a third contact warned. "Some are friendly, some are not. Be careful." Dr. Wu Jin Nam worked in Earth's Department of Future Planning, which sounded boring, but was actually one of the most important jobs in the government. For 30 years, he had been preparing for exactly this situation. Not because he knew it would happen, but because he believed humans should always have backup plans. "Show them," he told his assistant as President Mi Young visited his underground facility. The holographic display lit up with dozens of star maps, hidden colonies that had been secretly built over the decades, research stations beyond galactic borders, even a few military bases in places the galaxy had never explored. "How long have you been planning this?" Mi Young asked, amazed. "Since we first met the Galactic Council," Wu Jin replied. "I didn't trust them. Too many species, too many different interests. I figured eventually someone would try to get rid of us, so we prepared." The evacuation moved faster than anyone thought possible. Humans had gotten very good at organizing big projects quickly. Within 6 weeks, half of Earth's population was already on transport ships heading for the first staging areas. But it wasn't just humans who were leaving. The exile order said all human colonies had to go too, and those colonies included millions of aliens who had chosen to live with humans. Many of them were angry about being forced to leave their adopted homes. "This is stupid," said Krell, a young Zephyrian who had grown up on New Tokyo Colony. "My parents came here because they liked human culture. Now we have to leave because other aliens are scared of humans? That's not fair." Captain Yejin Bei brought her exploration fleet back from beyond the galactic barrier with incredible news. "There's so much space out there," she reported. "Thousands of empty star systems, worlds that are perfect for colonies, and some very interesting ruins that suggest there were advanced civilizations there long ago." As the final month of exile approached, Earth began shutting down systems that had run for centuries. The last power plants were deactivated. The last communication satellites went dark. Even the moon bases were abandoned, their equipment packed up and loaded onto cargo ships. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of the last diplomatic vessel to leave Earth orbit. Below him, the blue and green world that had been humanity's home for millions of years slowly grew smaller. Sojin stood beside him, tears running down her face. "Do you think we'll ever see it again?" she asked. Hyunwoo was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "Yes. But when we come back, we won't be the same species that left, and neither will the galaxy." He activated the ship's communication system and sent one final message to the Galactic Council. It was broadcast on all frequencies so every species in the galaxy would hear it. "You wanted us gone," his voice carried across space. "You got your wish. But remember this day, because you made a choice that will change everything. You thought you were getting rid of a problem. What you really did was set humanity free. Free from your rules, free from your fear, free to become everything we were meant to be." He paused, looking out at the stars that stretched endlessly in every direction. "You taught us that in this universe, strength is the only thing that matters. Thank you for the lesson. We won't forget it." The last human ship crossed the galactic barrier 3 days before the deadline. Behind them, they left an empty solar, system and a galaxy that thought it had solved its human problem. They had no idea what they had really done. 5 years had passed since humanity crossed the galactic barrier, and Captain Jinho Park couldn't believe what he was seeing through his ship's view screen. The space beyond the barrier was nothing like what the galaxy had told them to expect. "This place is incredible," said Dr. Haewon Lee, the xenoarchaeologist standing beside him. "Look at those structures." Floating in the void ahead of them was a massive ring of metal and crystal, easily the size of Earth's moon. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a soft blue light. It was clearly artificial, but it was older than anything humanity had ever discovered. "How old do you think it is?" Jinho asked. Haewon studied her scanner readings. "At least 50,000 years. Maybe more. This entire region is full of ruins like this. Whoever built them had technology that makes current galactic science look like stone tools." The wild expanse, as humans had named it, was supposed to be empty and dangerous. The Galactic Council had described it as a wasteland where nothing could survive. They were wrong on both counts. The region was full of ancient ruins, strange phenomena that seemed to bend the laws of physics, and environments that would terrify most galactic species. For humans, it was the greatest adventure they had ever found. Back on New Earth, the first world humanity had claimed beyond the barrier, engineer Boram Kim was working on something that would have been impossible under galactic regulations. She called it a fusion plasma hybrid drive, and it was based on technology found in one of the ancient ruins. "The energy output is incredible," she explained to her team. "We're getting 3 times the efficiency of anything the galaxy uses, and that's just from our first attempt." Without the Galactic Council's rules limiting their research, human scientists were making discoveries at an amazing rate. Biologist Sunmi Jung had developed new terraforming techniques that could turn dead rocks into garden worlds in just months instead of decades. Physicist Dong-hyun Ryu was working on something called quantum fold technology that could revolutionize space travel. "The galaxy kept us all from reaching our potential," Sunmi said during a video conference with scientists on 12 different worlds. "They were so afraid of change that they stopped everyone from growing. But humanity wasn't alone." In the wild expanse, 3 years after crossing the barrier, they had their first contact with another exile species. The Kethmori had been banished from the galaxy thousands of years ago for being too aggressive and unpredictable. They were large, 4-armed humanoids, with thick gray skin and glowing red eyes. When they first encountered human colonists, they attacked immediately. War Chief Sektar led the assault on the human mining colony on Zarian 9. His warriors were expecting an easy victory against soft, weak creatures like the other species they had encountered. Instead, they found humans who fought back with tactics they had never seen before. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, both sides had lost many warriors, but neither had won. Sektar was impressed despite himself. These small creatures fought like his own people, with courage, cleverness, and absolutely no intention of giving up. That's when diplomat Yu Jiano arrived with a small fleet and a very unusual offer. "We don't want to fight you," she told Sektar through her ship's communication system. "We want to make an alliance." Sektar laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "You attack my warriors and then offer friendship? You are strange creatures." "We didn't attack anyone," Yujin replied calmly. "Your people attacked our mining colony. We defended ourselves. But that doesn't mean we have to be enemies." It took weeks of careful negotiation, but eventually Yujin convinced Sektar to meet face to face. The Kethmori war chief was surprised to find that humans weren't interested in dominating other species the way most galactic races did. Instead, they offered partnership. "You have strength and experience," Yujin explained. "We have new technology and fresh ideas. Together, we could build something neither of us could create alone." The alliance between humans and Kethmori shocked both species. But it worked. Kethmori warriors provided security for human colonies in exchange for access to human technology and medicine. Human doctors were able to cure diseases that had plagued the Kethmori for generations. Human engineers helped rebuild Kethmori cities with modern technology. More importantly, both species learned from each other. Humans discovered that the Kethmori had been fighting strange machine creatures in the deep regions of the wild expanse for centuries. The Kethmori learned that humans were the first species they had ever met that didn't try to change their culture or make them more civilized. Intelligence officer Seung-Wan Han spent most of his time monitoring communications from the galaxy. What he heard worried him greatly. "Something big is happening," he reported to the human high command on New Earth. "Our contacts inside Galactic Space are sending urgent messages about machine intelligences attacking outer colonies." The reports were fragmented and confused, but a pattern was emerging. Unknown attackers were destroying entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The Galactic Navy was responding, but their attacks seemed to have no effect on the invaders. "They call them Void Seekers," Seung-Wan continued. "According to our sources, they appeared from outside the galaxy about 6 months ago. They don't communicate, they don't negotiate, they just consume everything in their path." President Jun Seo Kim, who had replaced Mi Young Choi 2 years earlier, studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. "How many systems have been lost?" 47 confirmed, Seung-Wan replied, "and the attacks are getting more frequent." The news got worse when former Galactic Counselor Ternvak sent a secret message to humanity through one of Da Eun-song's intelligence contacts. Ternvak had been one of the few council members who voted against human exile, and he had been quietly feeding information to human agents for years. "The situation is desperate," his message said. "The Void Seekers are unlike anything we have ever faced. Our weapons cannot harm them. Our shields cannot stop them. They consume entire worlds and turn the matter into more of themselves." The message continued with words that no one on the human high command expected to hear. "We were wrong about your species. We acted from fear and jealousy, and now we may pay the ultimate price. If there is any way humanity could find it in their hearts to help us, we would be grateful beyond measure." President Jun Seo called an emergency session of the Human High Command. The debate was intense and emotional. Admiral Seo Hyun-yu, who commanded the new human deep space fleet, was blunt in her opinion. "Let them burn," she said. "They exiled us because they were afraid we would grow too powerful. Now they want our help because they're too weak to defend themselves? I say we let them face the consequences of their choices." General Min-Kyu Cha, head of Human Colonial Defense, disagreed. "We're better than that," he argued. "Yes, they wronged us, but if we let the galaxy be destroyed, what does that make us?" Dr. Hai-Jin Lim, who now headed the Human Ethics Council, had the final word. "We need to help them," she said quietly. "Not because they deserve it, but because it's the right thing to do. And because if these Void Seekers finish consuming the galaxy, they'll come for us next." The decision was made. Humanity would return to the galaxy they had been exiled from, but they would return as equals, not as exiles begging for readmission. Fleet. Admiral Subin Quan began preparing the greatest military force humanity had ever assembled. Ships built with technology learned from ancient ruins, weapons that could manipulate matter at the quantum level, defensive systems that could phase between dimensions. More importantly, they would not return alone. The Kethmori had agreed to fight alongside their human allies. Other exile species, contacted through ancient communication networks found in the ruins, were also willing to join the fight. "The galaxy exiled us because they thought we were dangerous," Su Bin told her officers, as the fleet prepared to depart. "They were right, we are dangerous. Dangerous to anyone who threatens innocent life." As the massive fleet crossed back into galactic space for the first time in 5 years, Su Bin opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council. "This is Fleet Admiral Su Bin Quan of the Human Deep Space Navy," she announced. "We received your message. We're here to help. But when this is over, things are going to change." The galaxy that had exiled humanity was about to discover what humans could accomplish when they were truly free to reach their potential. The Galactic Council chambers on Centauri Prime looked nothing like they had 8 years ago. Half the seats were empty. Their occupants' worlds had been consumed by the Void Seekers. The remaining council members sat in frightened clusters, their usual pride replaced by desperation. When the human fleet appeared in Centauri system, Every alien in the chamber held their breath. The ships looked like nothing they had ever seen before. Sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around them, massive carriers that dwarfed even the largest galactic dreadnoughts, and escort ships that moved in impossible patterns through space. Former Counselor Turnvak stood slowly as Fleet Admiral Subin Kwan materialized in the center of the chamber via holographic projection. Subin wore the dark blue uniform of the human Deep Space Navy, and her expression was calm but cold. "Admiral Kwan," Turnvak began, his voice shaking slightly. "Thank you for coming. We know we have no right to ask for your help after what we did to your people." Subin looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of the beings who had voted to exile humanity. "No," she said simply. "You don't. But we're here anyway." The Speaker of the Council, a different creature than the one who had announced humanity's exile, stepped forward. "The situation is dire," it said. "In the past 8 years, the Void Seekers have consumed 47 star systems. Our military forces have been unable to stop them. Every weapon we use has no effect. Every defense we build is simply absorbed into their mass." "Show me," Subin said. The chamber's main display activated, showing the last recorded battle between galactic forces and a Void Seeker construct. The alien construct was enormous, a dark mass of interconnected machinery that stretched across hundreds of kilometers. It moved through space like a living thing, reaching out with tentacle-like extensions to grab ships and planets alike. Subin watched as the galactic fleet fired every weapon they had at the construct. Energy beams, plasma cannons, missile barrages. Nothing made any difference. The construct simply absorbed the attacks and kept moving. When it reached the inhabited planet in the system, it began to consume it piece by piece, turning the matter into more of itself. "How many beings lived on that world?" Subin asked quietly. 4 billion, the speaker replied. "All gone in less than 6 hours." Subin was silent for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. "We'll need complete tactical data on every encounter. With these things, fleet positions, weapon effectiveness, movement patterns, everything. You have a plan?" Turnvak asked hopefully. "We have ideas," Subin replied. "But first we need to see one of these things for ourselves." The Battle of Kepler 442 would be remembered as the turning point in the Void War. A galactic defense fleet of 200 ships had been holding the system for 3 weeks, desperately trying to evacuate the civilian population before a Void Seeker construct arrived. They were losing badly when the human fleet appeared. Captain Tae-Young-Oh commanded the lead assault ship, a vessel called the Defiance that incorporated technology found in the ancient ruins beyond the barrier. Behind him flew squadrons of fighters, piloted by both humans and Kethmori warriors, working together with perfect coordination. "All ships, this is Defiance," Tae-Young announced on the tactical channel. "We're going to do something the galaxy has never tried before. We're going to hurt one of these things." Tactical analyst Ha-Yun Park coordinated the strike from the fleet command ship. She had spent weeks studying every scrap of data about Void Seeker constructs, looking for weaknesses that the galactic military had missed. "The constructs absorb energy and matter," she explained to the strike force commanders. "But they need time to process what they absorb. If we hit them with more than they can handle at once, we might overload their systems." The plan was insane by galactic standards. Instead of staying at safe distances and firing conventional weapons, the human ships would attack at close range, using weapons based on quantum manipulation technology. The Kethmori would provide cover while human engineers attempted to plant experimental devices directly on the construct's surface. When the Void Seeker construct entered the Kepler 442 system, it found something it had never encountered before, an enemy that fought back effectively. The Defiance led the charge, its quantum disruptors tearing holes in the construct's outer shell. For the first time in the war, a Void Seeker construct showed signs of damage. Dark fluid leaked from the wounds, and sections of its surface began to flicker and fail. "It's working," Tae-Young shouted over the communication channel. "The quantum weapons are destabilizing its molecular structure. But the construct wasn't helpless. It lashed out with energy beams that could vaporize normal ships in seconds. 3 human vessels were destroyed in the first minute of combat. The galactic observers expected the humans to retreat as every other species had done. Instead, more human ships moved in to replace the ones that had been lost. Hayun coordinated the multi-species strike force with skill that amazed the watching galactic officers. Human Kethmori and even some galactic ships worked together in perfect harmony, each covering the other's weaknesses. Kethmori Squadron, hit the left flank, she ordered. Human fighters, cover the engineering teams. Galactic ships, concentrate, fire on the damaged sections. Engineer Boram Kim led a team of volunteers in tiny shuttles toward the construct's surface. Their job was to plant quantum charges that would hopefully cause a cascade failure in the construct systems. It was incredibly dangerous work. One mistake would mean instant death. Remember, Boram told her team as they approached the alien surface. These things learn from every attack. We only get one chance to make this work. The charges were planted successfully, but the construct had adapted to the quantum weapons faster than anyone expected. By the time Boram's team returned to their ships, the holes torn by the Defiance were already healing. Detonate now, Haun ordered. The quantum charges exploded simultaneously, sending waves of destructive energy through the construct's internal structure. For a moment, it looked like the plan had failed. Then cracks began appearing across the construct's surface, spreading like a spiderweb. The Void Seeker construct began to collapse in on itself, its matter becoming unstable. Within minutes, the enormous machine that had been consuming star systems was nothing but expanding debris. The galactic fleet couldn't believe what they had witnessed. In all their battles against the Void Seekers, they had never even scratched one of the constructs. The humans had destroyed one in less than an hour. How? Asked Admiral Veltak of the Galactic Navy, speaking directly to Subin after the battle. How did you do what we could not? Subin's expression was grim despite the victory. Because we learned from the best teachers in the universe, she replied. You. The galaxy taught us that in this universe, only the strong survive. You taught us that sometimes you have to be willing to sacrifice everything to protect what matters. She paused, looking at the debris field where the construct had been. The difference is, we learned those lessons without losing our humanity. We're still willing to risk our lives to save people we've never met, even people who wronged us. That's something these machines can't understand or replicate. The victory at Kepler 442 changed everything. For the first time since the Void War began, the galaxy had hope. But it also meant that humanity was no longer the exile species begging to be allowed back. They were the galaxy's best hope for survival. Word of the human victory spread quickly through galactic space. On worlds that had been preparing for evacuation, people began to hope again. In the halls of government, officials who had once voted to exile humanity now competed to offer them assistance. But the war was far from over. Intelligence reports suggested that the Void Seekers had a central command structure somewhere in dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. As long as that command existed, more constructs would keep coming. Subin knew what that meant. To truly end this war, someone would have to find the source of the Void Seekers and destroy it. And there was only one species with the technology and courage to attempt such a mission. Prepare the Deep Strike Fleet, she ordered her staff. We're going to end this war once and for all. The galaxy that had once exiled humanity now watched with desperate hope as human ships prepared for the most dangerous mission in history. The species they had feared would one day surpass them was about to become their salvation. Supreme Commander Kyung-Min Yang stood on the bridge of the Humanity's Pride, watching as the largest fleet in human history prepared for what everyone knew would be the final battle. Around him, officers from dozens of species worked together, humans, Kethmori, reformed Galactic Navy personnel, and even representatives from other exile species who had joined the fight. Final intelligence report, announced Communications Officer Dae-Yoon Song, who had left her spy networks to join the military operation. The Void Seeker Central Hub is located in the Magellan Void, approximately 50,000 light-years beyond the galactic rim. It's massive. The holographic display showed what their long-range scouts had discovered. The central hub wasn't just a ship or a space station, it was an entire artificial solar system. Massive ring structures surrounded a dark star, and each ring was covered with the same material as the Voidseeker constructs. The energy reading suggested that this single facility could produce thousands of constructs. "How many constructs are defending it?" asked General Min Q Cha, who now commanded the Joint Galactic Human Ground Forces. "At least 500, Daun replied grimly. "Maybe more. Our scouts couldn't get close enough for an accurate count." Dr. Ji-Hoon Shin, the fleet's chief scientist, looked up from his calculations. "Even with our quantum weapons, we can't fight that many constructs in open battle. We need a different approach." He activated a new display showing the hub's internal structure. "According to our analysis, the entire facility is controlled by a central intelligence core located at the heart of the artificial sun. If we could reach that core and destabilize it, the whole system would collapse," finished Captain Yujin Na, who commanded the elite strike squadron. "But getting there would be a suicide mission. The radiation alone would kill anyone who tried." Kyungmin studied the display for a long time. Around him, the bridge was quiet as everyone realized what this meant. To save the galaxy, someone would have to sacrifice themselves. "I'll do it," Dr. Ji-Hoon said quietly. "I helped design the quantum fold technology. I'm the only one who can jury-rig it to penetrate that much radiation and exotic matter." "No," Captain Yujin replied. "You'll need someone to pilot the ship. While you work on the technology, I volunteer to go with you." Before anyone could argue, more voices spoke up. "My ship has the best armor," said Kethmori War Chief Sektar. "We will escort you. The Veltari crystal ships can channel energy better than any other design," added Captain Rinsei. "We will also join this mission." Within minutes, it became clear that the suicide mission would not be carried out by just two people. Representatives from every species in the fleet volunteered to join what they were calling the final strike. As the massive fleet approached the Voidseeker hub, Supreme Commander Kyung-min opened a channel to every ship in the formation. "Today we fight not as separate species, but as one people united against a common threat. The galaxy may have exiled us, feared us, or scorned us, but today we stand together." The battle began as soon as they entered the hub system. Voidseeker. Constructs swarmed toward the fleet like angry insects, their dark hulls gleaming with absorbed starlight. But this time, the defenders were ready. Human quantum weapons tore through construct armor while Kethmori warriors provided cover fire. Galactic energy cannons, upgraded with human technology, punched holes through enemy formations. The Exile, species that had been banished for being too dangerous, proved exactly why the galaxy had feared them. For 6 hours, the battle raged across the artificial solar system. Ships from both sides were destroyed in brilliant explosions that lit up the darkness. But slowly, steadily, the combined fleet fought its way toward the central hub. Dr. Ji-Hoon and Captain Yu-Jin led the final strike in a specially modified ship called the Last Hope. Behind them flew 12 other vessels, each carrying volunteers who knew they would not return home. "This is as far as the main fleet can go," Kyung-min announced over the communication channel. "The radiation levels ahead will destroy any ship that isn't specifically shielded." Through the view screen of the Last Hope, Ji-Hoon could see the dark star that powered the Voidseeker facility. Strange energies danced around its surface, and the space around it seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. "Beginning final approach," Yujin announced, her voice steady despite the fear they all felt. The journey to the central core took 3 hours. One by one, the escort ships succumbed to the intense radiation and exotic energies surrounding the dark star. By the time they reached the intelligence core, only the Last Hope remained. "There it is," Ji-Hoon said, pointing to a massive crystalline structure floating in the heart of the artificial star. The central processing unit for the entire Voidseeker network. The core was beautiful in a terrifying way, a geometric, sculpture of living energy that pulsed with the power of a small star. But Ji-hoon could see the quantum weak points in its structure, places where the right kind of energy cascade could cause it to collapse. Setting up the quantum fold device, he announced, his hands flying over the controls. Yu-jin, I need you to hold our position for exactly 47 minutes while I configure the collapse sequence. Copy that, Yu-jin replied, fighting to keep their ship stable in the chaotic energies surrounding the core. As Ji-hoon worked, the Void Seeker intelligence became aware of their presence. Defensive systems activated, sending waves of destructive energy toward the last hope. Yu-jin pushed their ship's systems beyond all safety limits, dodging attacks that could vaporize planets. Almost done, Ji-hoon called out as warning alarms filled the bridge. Just 30 more seconds. That's when the ship's main power core was hit by a Void Seeker energy beam. The lights went out and emergency power lasted only moments. I can't hold position without main power, Yu-jin said grimly. We're going to drift into the star. Ji-hoon looked at his incomplete work, then at his friend and captain. There's another way, he said quietly. If I activate the device manually, I can create the cascade, but someone will have to pilot the ship directly into the core. They both knew what that meant. Without the ship's automated systems, whoever piloted the last hope into the intelligence core would die in the explosion. I'll do it, Yu-jin said immediately. No, Ji-hoon replied. You're a better pilot than I am. You can get us closer to the core than the automated systems ever could. I'll handle the manual activation. There was no time to argue. The ship was already beginning to drift toward the dark star's surface. Yu-jin took manual control of the ship while Ji-hoon prepared the quantum fold device for manual detonation. Tell my family I was proud to serve, he said into his personal recorder. Tell the galaxy that we kept our promise, Yu-jin added, pointing their ship directly at the intelligence core. The last hope struck the Void Seeker's central intelligence at maximum velocity. In the moment of impact, Ji-hoon activated the quantum fold cascade. The explosion that followed could be seen from 50 light-years away. The intelligence core collapsed in on itself, creating a quantum singularity that tore apart the fabric of space around the dark star. The artificial solar system began falling apart as the energy that had held it together disappeared. Supreme Commander Kyung-min watched from the fleet as every Void Seeker construct in the galaxy suddenly stopped moving. Without their central intelligence to guide them, the machines became nothing more than floating debris. The war was over. The galaxy was saved. 3 months later, Kyung-min stood in the same crystal chambers where humanity had been exiled 8 years earlier. But this time he wasn't there as a defendant. He was there as humanity's representative in negotiations for a new galactic government. The old Galactic Council had been dissolved. Too many member species had lost faith in a system that had nearly led to everyone's destruction. In its place, a new organization was being formed, one based on cooperation rather than fear, innovation rather than stagnation. The human doctrine, as it was being called, would guide the new galaxy. Growth through challenge, strength through adversity, and the belief that different wasn't dangerous, it was valuable. New Speaker Dai Yong-ko, who had been elected to represent humanity in the new government, addressed the assembly. We didn't return to the galaxy seeking revenge for our exile, he said. We returned because it was the right thing to do, and now we offer the same thing we have always offered: partnership, not domination. Councillor So Young-baek, who had been instrumental in designing the new governmental structure, presented the founding principles of what would be called the Free Galactic Alliance. No species will be exiled for being different. No species will be limited in their growth by fear or jealousy. We will explore together, learn together, and face whatever challenges the universe presents together. The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence for Dr. Ji-hoon Shin, Captain Yu-jin Na, and all the others who had given their lives to save the galaxy. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. On New Earth, now the capital of human space, historian Won Jung Park finished writing the official record of humanity's journey from exile to salvation. The final chapter would be read by students for generations to come, Elder statesman Hyun-woo Park, now in his 70s but still sharp and dignified, stood on the observation deck of New Earth's Capitol building.